Welcome to the Build Series, live here in New York City. I'm your host, Kevin Kenny, and our guest today is going to celebrate 10 years in the world of music next year, and is back right now, I should say March 15th, with a brand new album entitled Portraits. Please, let's give a warm Build welcome for Greyson Chance.
Thank you so much.
Dude, that song is like really, really good. I told you upstairs, like, I really like Shut Up. And then we just played it for the fans here in the studio.
Yeah.
So good. And you wrote that song.
Yeah, he came up upstairs and he was like, yo, you wrote that? I was like, yeah, I thought that was a part of my job.
Oh, dude, hey, we fully support artists that do that here on
thanks
Build.
so much.
But just sonically, the beat and just the lyrics, it's like, it's so clever and catchy. And, we're going to dive into a lot about the new album, but let's start with Shut Up.
Yeah.
So shut up now.
Yeah.
But how did you write the song?
So I actually wrote it this summer. I was spending a lot of time. I was in Israel. I was doing some school stuff when I was there. I just did 2 years in university. And so I sort of had this instance with a guy, and I won't get into too many details, but it was just...
Well, wait, you have in other interviews.
Yeah, I have another...
You've described it as a forbidden romance.
So we were in Jerusalem, and, I was so, like, when you're just kind of in love or you're kind of enamored with someone and you just, like, literally, no pun intended, but you can't shut up because you're nervous about, like, empty space, right? And I found myself, like, talking circles around this guy of, just about everything and anything. And then one night in Jerusalem, our communication became very non-communicative, which was really cool. And then I actually wrote the lyrics in the airport coming back to the States. And what's cool about it, too, is it's the first song off the record. And I did that intentionally because it was kind of the first song that kick-started me saying, okay, I'm actually going to write an album. I'm going to do this fully and properly. And so that's why I wanted it to be first.
Would you almost say that's like the thesis of the entire project?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's a good sort of period statement of, here's what you're going to hear on Portraits. Here's sort of the style sonically.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was really cool that we got to put it out as the first one.
When you're in a moment like that and you're having just a special moment in your life with somebody, do you consciously, as an artist, as a songwriter, do you realize, like, oh my God, this is going to make the best song one day?
I think for me, as a writer, I think I've been really blessed as I've been growing up and sort of developing my pen and developing my skill. There have been writers before me and sort of mentors that I've looked up to. And I think what I've taken from them is, the only voice that I have is my own. And so I can't not write songs about my personal life. I can't do it. And so for me, it's, this album is my year last year. So if you want to know what happened in 2018 in my life, listen to this and listen to the lyrics, and it's all in there. But I think in the moment, to answer your question, probably not. But it feels so satisfying and so cool to listen to a song after you've completed it and been like, oh, wow, okay, I got that all down in words. Yeah. It's a nice feeling.
You talk about sort of this being your 2018 and kind of taking your life and putting it into music. I think of an artist like Drake. I don't know if you're a fan of Drake or not, but he's somebody...
Who's that?
You're playing for 2 dates in Toronto at the Drake Hotel.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any connection.
It's his hotel. No.
Yeah. I thought that's kind of funny, though, in his own city, right?
Yeah.
But something I admire about Drake and kind of look forward to his music, or why I look forward to his music, is because he doesn't run to social media about his personal life. He talks about it. He's very open, as you are, but he puts it into the music. Yeah. Is that something you admire about other artists?
I think so. And I think for me, too, for me and my social media and what I try to do online, I think, if you look at it, it's very music oriented. And I try to be personal as much as possible, but I think it's important too to have a wall. And I think for me, I would much rather give a record and give music to tell my story and to who I am rather than try to give you 140 characters in a tweet or a sort of cheesy Instagram post. I would much rather put it into this. But yeah, I really respect that about him and really just all artists that write their own music. I think, again, too, we all have our own voice. And so, yeah, if you're writing your own songs, that's really cool.
Definitely. And then Portraits, I don't want to read too much into the fact that it's plural.
What do you think? Tell me about it.
Well, no, so the title, I hear Portraits, it sounds like, okay, is this going to be stories about multiple people? Is it going to be stories about multiple versions of you? Why Portraits with an S on the end?
Yeah, that's cool. You're smart, man. Yeah, you're right on the money. Well, to start, I think when we were making the album, I'm fortunate enough, I know, or I kind of surround myself with a lot of photographer friends, a lot of, creatives. as most artists do, right? And as we were making this record, I really like shooting with my friends and having them take photos of me and trying to. I like doing that sort of thing of following a vision, right? And so we were doing a lot of that as I was writing. And what I liked about these photos is I would look back at them and like I went through a really nasty breakup in May. And if you look at any of the photos I shot, that month or the month following, you sort of see it in my eyes. There's a bit of hurt, there's a bit of sort of sadness in there. And then, if you flash forward to September or to December when we shot these photos, you sort of see these different emotions. And I was like, that's cool that it's sort of captured in time. And then I was like, duh, idiot, that's what you do with your songs. And so I started looking back at the songs, and in the same way they resembled the photos. They were extremely individualistic. They each had their own sort of story and their own path. And so for me, it was an immediate click. I remember calling my manager and saying, this is the theme, this is the aesthetic, this is what I want to go for. And so this photo that you're looking at now, we had confirmed artwork. I finished the record around Thanksgiving. We had confirmed artwork in November, and right around that time. And then I called a friend up, Broderick Bauman in Chicago, who I've known since I was 15 years old in Oklahoma. And he's an amazing photographer. And I said, let's just try a weekend of shooting. And then immediately I saw the picture, and I was like, yep, that's it. And then I called the label and said, change everything. And they're like, oh, my God. Oh, yeah.
Well, what were you thinking about when this picture was taken?
I think I was thinking about the songs. I think I was thinking about the record. In particular, there's the last song on the album is a song called Lakeshore. And I wrote the song originally when I was 18. I felt like we didn't have a closer for the longest time. The last song on an album, I think, is so important because it's your final note for that project, It's like your concluding paragraph. And so I think in this photo, I was thinking a lot about that song. It's one of my favorites off the album. It's a little serious in nature, but I think I wanted to show people I'm a bit more grown up. I'm a bit more older. I think the cross is really just an ode to my mom and kind of, and my mom and dad too, and kind of how I grew up. And I don't know. When I saw it, I said, that's the visual for the album, no doubt.
Do you know if you're gonna do like a physical release for the album?
I'm hoping. We're talking about vinyl right now.
Because, dude, that would be like, that would be so cool. We got one sold right there. Yeah. But it would be so cool to like take all those pictures, right? And like make it part of some sort of packaging or something.
Well, it's funny. There might be, if we do the vinyl, there might be a slightly different version of this photo in a different way.
Oh, that's cool.
To make it a bit more special, but we'll see.
Yeah, totally. You talked about you went through a breakup. It was a pretty big breakup. I've heard you say this was somebody you thought you were may have wound up with.
Yeah, it really sucks. Does anybody have any whiskey out there? I'm just kidding.
Please.
Yeah. It really, I think for me, I had never really felt like I had fallen in love before. And, I met this guy, and when it just clicks, right? When it just really makes a lot of sense, and it's sort of effortless, right? And I think what I learned through the process too, we were dating for 9 to 10, maybe 11 months, somewhere around there. And, I think what I began to realize is I was like, oh, wait, love is not just an infatuation feeling. Love is deprioritizing yourself. And I never felt that before. When you wake up and you're number two and there's someone else where you're like, okay, let me check on them first, what they're doing. Sometimes that can be very unhealthy, but that's a whole nother conversation. And I was madly in love with him. I thought we were really, really great. And there was a point where I was looking at rings, and, I knew that we would maybe probably have a long engagement, but because I was 20 at the time, but I really felt confident about it. And then like a week later, out of nowhere, he said, I don't want to be with you anymore. And and had to go through that entire process. And I have so much mad respect for anyone who has gotten through heartbreak now after going through it myself. And like, not to be melodramatic, but it's really hard. It's very, very difficult. I wasn't taking care of myself during that time, and I wrote about it a lot in months after. It was really, really hard. Very difficult.
Who was the biggest support system for you at that time?
My friends, for sure. I think, but what's difficult too is now looking back again is I'm not a person who loves to lean on people. I like to think I'm super, super strong, and and sometimes you just really need to lean on your friends and sort of just, hear their words. And this sort of thing. But yeah, I remember my mom too, and my family as well was great during the process. But I remember my mom just looking at me and saying, "Listen, time's gonna heal it, but you're never gonna not think of him. He's gonna be permanently in your life. It's a moment." And she's right about that. And yeah, still think about him pretty often. But we don't speak anymore.
Is that your choice or his? Little mutual?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little mutual.
What's the first song you wrote after that experience?
It's a song called White Roses, which is, I think, falls track number, yeah, 5 on the record. And it was really difficult. It was really hard. But immediately after writing it, I just felt this sense of release. And I was running a lot through my breakup too. I was doing just a lot of that was the way that I sort of dealt with it mentally. And I really wanted a song because as I was listening to music and running, that moment when you catch your stride, when you're listening to music and you're running and you're like, ooh, the beat's really good, it fits, like all these sorts of things. I wanted that so desperately for myself in a mental way. I wanted to catch my stride and get over this. So in that song, and the bridge, there's a big build moment where it breaks out into this big sort of loud instrumental, and it's really cool now to listen back to that and say, hey, I finally caught my stride, and that's what that represents.
Yeah. And it's cool. Again, the theme of paying it forward in music, right? Giving the gift that you've gotten from music. Now someone else on March 15th can go for a run, right?
Yeah, and don't date songwriters. Horrible idea. Horrible idea.
You may just wind up on an album one day.
Yeah, I'll write about you. Yeah.
You're finally making music, as you've said in previous interviews, without worrying about the result. And that must just be so freeing, so liberating as a creative. You know, take away being a songwriter, just as a creative. What is it like, though, on the flip side, when you used to have to make music with the result in mind?
You know, I think, the biggest difference between where I'm at now and where I was then, I've been in music for a really, really long time. And I think now I'm just doing everything on my own terms. I'm really not afraid to sort of put my foot down or to say, hey, this is what I want to do and this is the vision I have. And I think I'm acting in that way because when I was 18 years old, so 3 years ago, I had just come off an EP. The last time I was at Build, actually. And it did okay. It could have done a lot better. I really tried to fight for it in LA, going to every single record label, and just no one wanted it. And after that release, I was extremely unhappy, and I was like, you had a really good run. Maybe it's time to go and try something else. So I went to school for 2 years. And I didn't touch a piano for like 5 months being in school, sort of got into my rhythm of, pursuing a different dream. And so I think having that experience and having all of that pressure taken away, right? No one was calling me saying, where's the song, where's the song, where's the song? That's when I found my love for music again. And so coming back into this, I got my record deal offered to me last January. And I said, give me 6 months. I'm going to finish out my semester, and then I'll tell you in May whether I'm going to do it or not. So right around that breakup time, too, and I just decided in coming back, I was like, you know what? Go and do it. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to that 15-year-old kid that got dropped by his record label and had to pull himself up by the bootstraps. You owe it to that person. So go and do it yourself, but no cutting corners anymore. Do what you love. And so, yeah, it feels extremely freeing, and I feel like now that this record comes out in 2 weeks from Friday, I feel like incredibly lazy because I don't have any music right now. I have a few songs, but I'm ready for the next one.
Yeah.
I'm ready to. What does 22-year-old Greyson feel like, and what is he going to write about? I'm really interested to know.
In your mind as an artist, is this almost, not to discredit what you've done over the past 9 years, but is this almost chapter 1 for you? Because you got to imagine, you blow up off a viral video and you get signed quickly thereafter. So whatever that music is initially going to sound like, it's probably not in your control, and it's probably going to have to sound like whatever all these people fell in love with in a viral video. This is truly you.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you sort of compartmentalize both? I don't want to say eras, but this is, to me, this is such a blank canvas.
Yeah. Well, I tweeted yesterday, and I think, and I'm glad you asked because I want to clarify it too. I tweeted yesterday. I said, Portraits is not my sophomore album. I view it as my debut. And I really do mean that. And it's not to discredit what I did in the past. I'm so damn proud of that kid, and I'm so damn proud of that video and that album that I put out. And anyone who wants to give me flack for it, like, you try being 14 and do what I did, and you see what record you come up with. Sorry, but real talk, right? So I'm so proud of that, and it's a part of my story. But it's just that album doesn't feel like an expression of me because it wasn't necessarily written by me. It was sort of handed to me and sort of put together. And so when I say this is my debut, this is the first time I've had a chance to really, really have a voice and say, this is what I want to do. Now, there's music in between, which is a different story. When I started writing, I'm very proud of that work, and it felt like expressions of myself during that time. But in terms of a record, this is my first album. This is my debut. And this is the start of, I guess, the next era.
Well, and that's why anyone watching who's been a fan of you for the past almost decade now, it's crazy to think, should be so excited about March 15th because they're really going to get to know you.
Yeah.
It's like if you fell in love with Greyson before, wait until March 15th in Portraits, and you're really going to fall in love even more and really get to know the artist.
Very true.
You've been on tour now for, I guess, 6 days maybe?
Just one weekend. So we've only done 2 shows, but we play the Gramercy on Friday, and I'm so excited.
Oh, that's going to be
pumped.
amazing. So you got some days here in New York, I noticed, when looking at the itinerary there. What are you doing when you're in the city?
I'm doing a lot of work, press stuff for the record. But it's funny, anytime I'm in New York, I immediately become meaner as a human being. I love taking the train, always on the subway. I have a few different restaurants that I have to frequent when I'm here. So I do that. But I think, it's funny. We played Friday night in D.C. and we played Saturday night in Atlanta. I had not been to those cities in 8 years. Oh, wow. So the fact that even 10 people showed up, I was amazed. We really packed out the venues. And on Sunday, when both of the shows were done, I was like, oh, no, I want to play again tonight. Yeah. And so I'm really, really looking forward to Friday. And then we have 2 back-to-back shows in Toronto. The first one in Toronto sold out, and the second one's about to be. So that's very exciting. And I'm really excited to bring this record on the road and across the world too.
Yeah. Exciting times. Twitter's going crazy right now. We're going to try to get to a couple of Twitter questions. This comes from @IceGrays. These names crack me up. Who inspires you the most at this very moment?
At the moment? That's a really good question. Anyone know the band Sylvan Esso? Yeah? Okay, yeah, they're not. They were a huge inspiration for Portraits, but still very much so inspiring me now. And so I would also say James Blake I've been listening to since that first record. As a fan, I'm just so immensely proud of him in a weird way. I felt like because I was there since that first album, it's like, we did it. We rocked it out. So immensely proud of him and inspired by him. And I would say, not on a sonic level, but Joni Mitchell in terms of trying to study songwriters and really trying to learn of what's the best way to craft a story. Yeah.
And there's a parallel there between her song Both Sides Now and probably what you're going
through.
Hey,
there you are, man. You're smart, dude. Where'd you go to school?
Very small school in New Jersey. They love a plug, though. @Geeks for Greyson is up next. What do you call your fans?
There's a few different names. Enchancers has been one thing. Graysonators was when I was really young. I think they should just be called by their names.
Okay.
Respectively.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like Graysonators. I feel like for a time, it's like if you were in the world of pop, you just added ators to the end of your name. And then it's like, oh, that's what the fans are called.
Oh, I missed 2010. Wow. What a wonderful time. Yeah.
I like Geeks for Greyson. Yeah. At what point during college did you decide to hop back into music full bore? Full bore.
I didn't really make the decision until really the last moment. I had told the label when they offered the deal, I said, really, give me 6 months. Because there was I had a lot of thinking to do about it. Because also, too, I went to the University of Tulsa back in Oklahoma. Loved that school, loved what I was studying. I was very, very happy, very content. But I think, towards the end of that semester, I was like, you're only going to be 20, 21 years old once in your life. And I think, I just really, in my head, I was like, I made some very simple goals. The first one was make a body of work, which we did. And second was go on the road with it. And we're doing that now. So I'm really glad I made that decision.
Yeah, I think the fans are too.
Yeah.
Speaking of fans, we got some here in the studio.
Yeah.
Let's get to some questions.
Hey.
Hi, Grayson. So first of all, my friends on Twitter really want you to go to Europe and Southeast Asia and South America.
Damn,
So,
I want to go to Europe too. Southeast Asia is definitely going to happen, and I think Europe will too. South America as well. So we'll see. So it's all the places, yeah.
and also I wanted to say that as someone who's you're literally my favorite artist of all time.
Thanks.
Listening to Somewhere Over My Head and like the non-album singles really helped me through like some of my hard
Thanks.
and like low points. So I wanted to ask you, do you have any advice for young people who are feeling lost or confused with their own sexuality or identity?
Yeah. I think it's very important to understand, and I've talked about this a bit, in these interview cycles. I think it's very important to understand that each case is individualistic, right? I can tell you so much about my story, and you might be able to take little things here and there, but it's your path and it's your journey, and I think my biggest advice to anyone who's sort of struggling to find themselves or struggling to find happiness is, I think, number one, be patient with yourself. It's not going to be an easy road, and you have to recognize that, and you have to say, okay. And I think the second thing is just understanding the beauty in life. It would be I believe this is our one shot. I think it's really, really short. And I think there's so much good out there. And I'm not to be melodramatic, but like I'm the like hippie guy that like comes out on a beautiful day and I'm like, whoa, the clouds, like, wow, so beautiful. But real talk, and I think understand, that there's just, you're here for a reason, and don't give up, just keep on fighting. And but again too, it's hard. And you say the non-album singles helped you out through a lot of hard stuff. Me too.
It's a great question. Second question is going to come from right over here.
Hey.
Hi, Grayson. I'm so happy to hear that you're still making music. This is amazing. I remember being really struck by your capacity to like display emotion at such a young age. And not to bring up the video, but there was this one audience member, this woman who just looked at you like so awestruck.
Yeah.
And what was the deal with that? Was she your friend? She'd never heard your music before. She just loved you.
I don't think anyone had really heard my music before at that point, because I think it was pretty non-existent. If we're thinking about the same person, I know her. She still lives in my hometown. I probably owe her a coffee. I don't know. Yeah, we haven't really talked that much, but I think she's good. Maybe that doesn't really answer your question at all, does it? I think she's cool. Yeah, I'll buy her something one day.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now you're on the hook.
I know.
We have time for one final question. It'll come from over here.
Hey, so at some of your shows, you're playing unreleased songs from your album. So what's it like being able to see people's first reactions in real life?
Well, it's been in DC and Atlanta. It was really, really cool, to just sort of see it. But I really only have 2 more weekends of that, because then the record's out. But I think it's just felt really, I don't know, it's felt like an accomplishment and like a victory. And to sort of see just people genuinely excited by the music is really, really incredible. And I'm really excited for that first show in LA the day after the album releases, where people will now know all the words. And if you have come to any of the shows before where the album has not been released, don't worry. We'll be back very, very soon in your city, and we can sing along together.
Thank you.
Well, Grayson, unfortunately, we're out of time
Yeah.
here. But where can we find tickets if we're trying to get tickets? I know they're going fast, but is there a website or
Tickets
social?
at grayson-official.com.
Okay.
Or also, too, so I know a bunch of people have hit me up online, and there's just always the drama around, where's the link?
Yeah.
Like, go to a search engine, type my name, type the city. I promise you're going to find something.
I love that fans are trying to hit you up for tickets.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, too, what other people do as well is I'll get DMs where people will be like, you never come to New York. Why aren't you coming to New York? And I'm like, literally on Friday, I'm in your city. So that's your fault. So, yeah, go and find the tickets there online.
That's so funny. Guys, one more time for Grayson.
Thank you so much.